click the button. All right. I think we're now live. Yes, we are now live. Cool. This is the first time I've ever actually used this before. This would be kind of cool. Oh, don't you love the do not disturb mode on these computers?
It doesn't do anything.
I'm going to delete. I'm going to close Slack real quick. Okay. So we'll give people probably like 2 minutes and let some people show up. If you pop in, feel free to say hi. There should be, the live chat's going. Hello, Josh, Molly, Nedick. Yeah, so we'll give it like maybe 1 or 2 minutes and then kind of go over the agenda real quick. This will be a pretty quick stream. Nice, recording too. Perfect.
Sweet.
Yeah, I know a few people posted that they wanted to see a recap because they couldn't make it. So that'll be good. Let's see, I'll get my tabs ready while we're waiting. You want to grab your guitar, play some songs while we're waiting?
I could, but I don't think anybody would want to hear that.
Something copyright free. I don't know what you're talking about. It's good. It's good music. Nonsense. And you know what? Actually, so this is going to be recorded. So why don't we just jump into it and then people can rewind if you want to go back. So the agenda for today, this is kind of ad hoc. So we're just going to roll through it. The main thing that I think would be good to do today is to share that we now have a public wish list and a public roadmap. It's been an ongoing conversation to decide what are we going to do about that? How, what is that going to look like? And so I want to share a little bit about that today. I think Josh had a great idea. We can introduce ourselves. My name's Duncan. I'm a co-founder and designer at MemberStack.
And I'm Tyler. I'm one of the co-founders and software engineers at MemberStack.
Yep. Thank you, Josh. So the other things I want to do is kind of, once we share the link to the roadmap, kind of explain what's going on in there right now. And then also on the wish list side, explaining what happens when you put something into that wish list. We've seen a lot of wish lists. We've had a private wish list up until now, and that had some pros and some cons. And public wish lists have their pros and their cons, but we should make it super clear about what's going to happen in there and what you can expect. And then we have some questions that people posted beforehand. And if you have anything you want to know, literally anything, feel free to post it in the comments. And then if we don't have time to get to it today, because we do only have the 30 minutes, then we're going to use this new process to get you an answer to those questions. It'll get routed to the right places. So we didn't set this up today where we have screen sharing capabilities. So I'm going to share links in the chat instead. The first one I want to share is future.memberstack.com. Boom, Josh, quick draw. That was good. So the first thing you'll see when you get here is just a super high level roadmap. There's a couple different columns, and we're still configuring Canny. So we'll see. There might be 3 or 4 whenever you look at it, but the complete column is going to be populated. Don't worry about that right now. The in progress are things that we are actively working on, that there are people on the team investing time in these things. And I want to make it super clear, it doesn't say anything just because something's in progress, it doesn't mean it's going to be done really quickly or next necessarily. It just means that we are working on it and we want to let you all know that. And maybe actually a useful thing I could share, we were just talking about this, is kind of the idea behind the roadmap, why we think it's important that we have one at all. And it's really about this recognition that you all are building products and building businesses that all have their own roadmaps. And the tools that you use and rely on in different ways, they all have their own roadmaps, but those roadmaps affect your roadmaps, right? Our roadmap affects your roadmap. And predicting the future is hard, especially whenever, it's complicated stuff like this, but it's important that we try. And just so we can set expectations for you all that should I wait for this thing? If you have a question about something that's in progress, you now have a place to ask it. It's really just about being more transparent. So we're going to walk that line between trying to not overpromise, but also help you make informed choices about what you want to do with your own business. Is that summed up? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the goal is just to be more transparent with what we're doing and the things that we're working on and the things that are coming next.
Yep. Yeah, because it's been a bit of a black box. I think is the word that we've heard, and I think it's fair. So we have in progress, and then we have planned, which are, if you see something in planned, it means that we have an idea of when we want to do it. And there's two parts of that. Let me break that down a little bit. We are doing like two big things right now. One is getting more clear about what is required to release something, and then setting ourselves up to get that thing done as quickly as possible, right? Basically, like the two parts being evaluating, this is going to take 100 hours, and then how quickly are we going to execute on those 100 hours? And as you know, we raised some money, or you probably know from the fundraising announcement we did, that we now have some money, and we are expanding the team, and we are moving quicker. we are moving faster. So those are the columns. You may see a column called under review. That just means that we are currently working on like mock-ups. We are currently, thanks Natick. Natick just posted a link to the announcement in the chat. We are working on research, mock-ups, prototypes, getting feedback, validating that we're actually solving your problems with the things that we're building. And those things will move from column to column as they get more real and get more useful to all of you. Now, the content of these columns, this is complicated and really important that we communicate this well. And we're going to use, we're going to try to explain it, but we want to hear your questions. If you want anything to be clarified as we're going, because it's just a little complicated. And either of us can try to do this. I can start, and then you want to jump in, or
just go for it.
Okay. So I'm going to open it up actually. So in the in progress column, the top of the in progress column, you'll see MemberStack 2.0. This is what we have been working on for a little bit now, and what we are like going full force into. We've talked to a ton of folks who have built really, really massive and really cool products. And the consensus was always, when you're building a product, you want to work iteratively, you want to work quickly, you want to ship in small chunks. And ideally, that's what you're going to do. And then we would show them what we were working with, what we had built, what the MVP that we had, all of the things that we had invested into it. And they'd look at it and go, how early on are you guys? It's like, and where do you want to build and where are you going? It's like, you might want to consider re-architecting some of this stuff. You want to consider rebuilding outside of Webflow. And when I say outside of Webflow, I mean our front end dashboard that's currently built inside of Webflow. Maybe build that again in React. So that we set ourselves up to support our customers better going forward, to support all of you going forward. At the moment, right, it's like whenever we want to add a new feature for one of you who like has a Webflow project, we have to go through all of these hoops and hacks to actually make that happen. But now that we're kind of doing some of this rebuild, we're going to be able to get it done a whole lot faster. So that's the big thing with there. Some really exciting things about 2.0 is that we're working on basically, and you described this better than me, we're working on kind of making the product more flexible, making MemberStack more flexible, and in a better place to start supporting some like really important features that you all have been requesting. One example would be like multiple memberships, which we're starting to call multiple plans now, membership plans, so that as soon as this new version is live, you're going to be able to have multiple plans. But we'll also be in a really good place to start supporting things like PayPal and other front-end frameworks or different types of integrations. Like we're just going to be in a massively better place to get to build that stuff for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the big kind of components of MemberStack 2.0, which is the thing that we've been working on, is essentially taking the underlying functionality that we have for our No product, the way that it stands today, and we're taking that underlying functionality and we're trying to expose it as much as possible So we can also have a product that works for both no coders, but also developers. So developers that want to use MemberStack's functionality to, build, whether it's user authentication or payments into the web application, but they're wanting to do that from a more low level. We want to enable that. And what's really awesome about MemberStack 2.0, the way that we've been building this is that all this underlying functionality that we're going to be building for developers will be the same functionality that we're actually going to be using to build out the essentially the no code layer.
It's like Squarespace will rely on it.
Exactly.
Webflow, yeah.
Squarespace, Webflow, Duda. And one of the reasons why we're going to be able to move so much faster is because when we, like, say, for example, if you have a Webflow project right now, and we want to build a feature that works inside Webflow, like, for example, say we wanted to, what would be cool? Say we wanted to provide a new checkout UI, because right now, like, the checkout UI we have right now is
modal.
It's just a modal. It's fixed. It's not very, you can't really customize it. And so looking forward to make that more customizable, or maybe even to offer more options, we're going to do that with the underlying developer functionality that we would be offering to developers anyway.
Yeah.
So we're going to, in a way, we'll be using our own product to continue to support the no code space, which is really exciting.
Yep. So that's all the exciting stuff. Now, kind of the important caveat that we want to share, just because it's the only fair thing to do, is that because we are making this decision to take this kind of waterfall approach and to release this version 2, it means for a period of time, there's going to be 2 versions of MemberStack. There's going to be 1.0 and 2.0. And at this point, it makes the most sense to invest the most heavily in 2.0 so that we can get everybody, give everyone the option to use all these new features. But it just means that for at least a period of time, there's probably not going to be any major feature releases for existing customers, for all of you right now. And that's maybe something good to qualify, because right now that's kind of vague. I don't know exactly what that means. It just means we're not going to add PayPal. We're not going to add PayPal to version 1. We're not going to add social auth. We started, and this is actually a good example. We started adding social auth. We actually got, I'm not going to say really close because that's complicated in development terms. We made some good progress on it, but we got to a point where we said, this is just digging ourselves deeper into this hole. We are just going to be more stuck. And every time we would add a feature like that, the rest of the roadmap would get further away. And this is something that in hindsight makes a lot of sense now. But if you remember, if anybody in here right now was around when we first started, it's we would be in the forum or whatever posting, people would be like, hey, could I have multiple plans? And we're like, oh, that should be easy. I bet we could do that in a couple weeks. And then it was every time we would add something, it'd get more complicated and we'd be less able to deliver on that. But now we know better.
Yep.
The other little note in here is that we definitely aren't going to be building this in isolation. We are not stepping away from everything and just putting on blinders and then building something new. This is MemberStack. We are rebuilding MemberStack. Everything that it currently has and supports is going to be there. It's going to be better, and it's going to be heavily tested, and just going to ideally, when the day comes that you want to if you want to start using these features, you just click a button, or maybe it's automatic if we know it's not going to break anything. We're just going to make it as easy as possible for you to start getting access to these features.
Yeah.
And we'll have a beta along the way. So a big change that we're taking here is we're keeping the I guess honoring our perspectives a little more, right? I'm a no coder. I don't know how to code. So my opinion will weigh heavily into the user experience of this. But at the same time, right, it's we are building the product. We as a team, we are developers. And now we are honoring that perspective, which we haven't done in the past. So we're going to do both. And this beta and having the current version of MemberStack will allow us to do that. So I think that's a pretty good overview of what's in here. You can click in the future.memberstack.com and you can read through these. It's really easy to leave comments. Anytime there are updates on any of these things, oh, this is really cool too. We're using a tool called Canny to manage this roadmap, and they make it super easy for you to just go in and upvote something, which is basically like subscribing to it. And that'll give us the opportunity to post comments, to ask you questions, to share updates. And what'll also happen is as you interact with like our support team, our success team, just anybody on our team, we're going to add you, like subscribe you to different things that we think you want to be updated on. So yeah, this is really just about making it easier to communicate and be transparent. So I think that's pretty good for that. Maybe we move on to the wish list real quick and check the time. 15:30. Yeah, we're pretty good.
Yeah, I think we're good on time.
Okay, cool. So now onto the wish list. This is pretty self-explanatory. I think most people know how this works. You can go in and you can post. Well, actually, this is good because usually it's self-explanatory, but I made it a little more complicated. Like we made it a little more complicated here about how we want this to work. There's an issue with most feature request wish lists is that they're just that. They are feature requests. And while companies like MemberStack, right, often build features to solve problems, that's not always the best solution. We want to know what your problems are and what your goals are so that we can then work together to evaluate what is the best solution to those problems. It might be a feature. It might be something else. It might be some like educational resources, or it's hard to say. But the way we've structured this is on the left-hand side, you'll see a form to submit your problems. Just copy and paste the description, and you'll be able to. Did you click back over to it for me?
Yeah,
cool. Thank you. Yeah, and you'll be able to just like answer those, and then you will get a reply almost immediately. The goal is almost immediately. As of now, our goal is to reply to every single comment that goes into this. That's a big promise, but it's important. It's really important to us that we do that and that we stick to that. So yeah, I think that might be it for this. You will get replies. Focus on your problems so that we can work together to come up with solutions. There is a place to put your ideas for solutions too. We do want to know those. But yeah, we want to build a thing that really solves meaningful problems and not just a bunch of feature bloat. That is what we are trying to avoid. Yep. Mm-hmm. Cool. And then let's see.
Do you want to talk about the process of how a item gets from the problems and solutions list to the roadmap?
Yeah. Yeah. So the idea for that is starting with the problem in mind. Once we are confident that we understand the problem and that there is enough demand for that thing to justify the development resources it's going to take to actually build it into the product, we will basically turn it from a problem into a solution, and then it will enter into our like production pipeline. It will go through mockups. It will go through. We will start sharing solutions as we create them for feedback. It'll move into our backlog and then move into development. And every step of the process, we will be sharing updates, so you'll know what's going on. And could you go back to Grammarly?
Oh yeah,
we have our outline in Grammarly. Let's see. Yeah, I think that was really it for this. The main takeaways from this should be, if you have any questions, we are very interested in answering them, whether it be about the roadmap. We're going to answer them honestly and probably without a timeline. But we want to hear those questions. We're going to do a better job of sharing what's currently going on in the behind the scenes, what's going on with the product team, with the dev team, all of that. And then if you have any feature requests or any problems that you want to share that you need solutions, then you now have a place to do that publicly where you will get a reply. And the reply may not be that we're going to do it for you, but we're going to tell you that. If you post something and it's out of scope for us, something that we have determined is not in our wheelhouse that we are going to solve most effectively, or maybe somebody else has solved better, we're going to be honest and share that with you there. So I think that's good. I think for the last 10 minutes or so, let me just do some live questions.
Yeah,
pull up the community.
I think we already have a couple here in the live chat.
And let's start with the community posts, just because they posted first. I feel like that's fair. And then what I want to share, and this should hopefully be obvious at this point, is that we only have 10 minutes. If we don't answer your question in the next 10 minutes, you now know where to post it. If you don't, then share that, because that means we're missing something. But yeah. And while Tyler's pulling this up, I'll also share that we're going to put links to this wish list on the marketing site and the roadmap on the marketing site inside the dashboard. Yeah, anywhere we can put a link, we're going to put a link so it's easy for you to get there and share things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in the community, Rick asked us, what's the future of your database capabilities? And he referred to that right now you can only save a single object, which I think he's referring to our front-end API, where you can save a JSON object, which is kind of like what we're doing right now for a data store, or for a data store that can be associated with a member. This is one of these things that this is a topic that we need to do more research into. We know we want to make MemberStack as flexible as possible and provide easy ways for you to associate data with a member and be able to access that data and actually use it in your application or your website. So it's something that's on our radar that we definitely want to look into. We just don't know exactly the specifics of what that might be.
Mm-hmm. And this is a perfect example of a question where going forward, we're going to be doing a lot more we're going to ask a lot more questions than answers. Like for example, I know Rick's not here right now, so I'm going to encourage him to post this in the wish list where I can follow up with a few questions, because I want to know when he says like database capabilities, in what context, like, are you wondering about database capabilities? Like, do you have existing databases that you want to like integrate, or maybe you want like MemberStack to replace a database that you currently are using? Maybe you love your database. Maybe you want MemberStack to do less of something, but we'll dig into that. We'll dig into that in the wish list. But I think Chris's is pretty straightforward.
So Chris asked about email confirmations. Mm-hmm. So his question is when will you be implementing email confirmations for account sign up? So essentially, I'm assuming what this is that when a member signs up, that you have a way of sending them an email for them to actually verify their email, and then you'd be able to actually use that data in your website, where, for example, if you didn't want a member to be able to access like certain hidden content, or maybe you didn't want them to be able to log in if they hadn't like verified their email. I think that's what he's asking. Mm-hmm. And the answer to that is something that's also on our radar. We know that's important. It's a very important problem that we see come up quite regularly. So we know we want to solve it. And the question is just a matter of when we do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is in the wish list right now. In terms of timeline, this is, it is not currently on a timeline. So if you subscribe to this, leave your comments, then as soon as something updates with that, then you will know as soon as that happens. So I think that makes sense to post there. And like, I'll post it in the, oops, right, two computers. Oh, yeah. I just had to copy from one computer to the other.
I can post it.
Cool. So that's on email verification.
Yep.
Right there.
Okay.
And then Vitali, looks like Vitali posted, and if we murder anybody's names, just let us know in the chat. But yeah, Vitali says, thanks for doing this. Best to attend. Don't know if you're out there, Vitali. I have been keeping an eye on the chat, but hello if you watch this after the fact. Yeah, this is a good one. So the question is, knowing that Webflow is working on their own version of user accounts and membership management, how do you think that would impact the trajectory of MemberStack? Do you think that there will be enough opportunity for both solutions to exist? Will there be a pivot for you guys of some sort? Cool. This is fun. These are always, these types of conversations are so interesting because they're like inherently future-based, which is, if you've ever tried to talk to like I don't want to slam fortune tellers, but right, it's hard. Predicting the future is very hard. And I guess what I could say a little bit about, and we could both say a little bit about, is kind of like the vision for MemberStack, why it was started versus maybe why we think Webflow was started. And just based on the things we've heard them say and my experience of using it, like Webflow is incredible at building really beautiful, like HTML and CSS and basic JavaScript websites. Like it is so good at that. And they started with that and they own that. And now they're expanding and adding new things. And what that looks like is the future, right? Like it is, we don't know what that's going to look like. And we have to assume it's going to be really good. It's Webflow. Yeah. So assuming that, now coming at it from our perspective, we started from the stance of user accounts, authentication, and payments, like making all of that infrastructure required to build an online business as easy as possible and as powerful and flexible as possible. So we're starting with that idea and then expanding out from there, which there's definitely going to be overlap, like increasing amounts of overlap, but it's just thinking about how many people there are who want to build online, how many places people are building things. There's definitely going to be overlap, but are we like cutthroat competitors? Do we need to be? I don't think so. No. I don't think so at all. I think there will always be people who will like certain things about certain products, and depending on their use case and what they're doing or where they're building, they'll be able to pick the tools they want to use. And what we're doing now, right, with MemberStack is making it so that we're not so dependent on a single place or single platform or ecosystem or community, while still being, right, like as engaged as we can, and as makes sense to be, because we very much love the Webflow community specifically.
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully that answers that. That one won't go into the wish list. That's just a good question. Corey, got some questions here from Corey. We can go like rapid fire through these. And actually, maybe I could just answer, because we're almost out of time. We can maybe hang out for just like a few extra minutes, like a few extra minutes.
Yeah, okay. We could definitely get through the live chat questions. I think there's only a couple.
Cool. But yeah, for anybody who needs to jump off, we have covered the high level stuff. You should know now where to put these things and where to go to get answers. So Corey, do some searching in the wish list. I think I added most of these. I'm going to say half of these. Yeah, the things that you listed here are paid trials, coupons with trials, ability to send users to an upgrade modal to switch plans. Love that. Customizable checkout. And then we're going to dig into this because you added upsells, format, additional text and images. I really want to know more. I want to know examples for all of these, but ability to send links with coupons, so it's automatically applied at checkout. Love that. Yep. Support for PayPal. Yeah. See, this is all great stuff that I want to like dig into. And then I actually have mock-ups, non-functional prototypes and mock-ups for a lot of these things that I want to share to get some feedback on. So after this call, I will tag you in those things so we can keep the conversation going there.
Awesome. And yeah, that was our last question from the community.
So go to the chat for a few minutes. Yeah, scroll to the top and we'll see how many we can do.
I think the first question was about social auth. And I think Natick, I think you answered it, but the question was, what's social auth? And that's essentially being able to log in and sign up with platforms like Google, Facebook, Twitter, just to be able to make it easier for members to be able to sign up and log into your website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We actually, you probably noticed, right? We added Google authentication to our own application as a means of getting more familiar with it and understanding kind of what are the repercussions of doing that. And we learned a lot.
Yeah.
And there are advantages that we want to share with all of you and things that we learned that we're going to be able to we know now as we implement.
Be able to account for. Mm-hmm. So the next question is, let's see here.
Any plans for membership creation with Zapier, or is that, there you go.
Yeah. So actually, let me scroll up.
That's a really good one. Mm-hmm.
There we go. So secure front-end access, CSS hide. So yeah, that's a really interesting question. So,
and the first thing I think is, we would need to dig in to really know what you're talking about.
Right.
But we could guess. You want to guess?
Well, I think, so secure front-end access, I think, I feel like that could mean a lot of different things. But one of the things that we will be working on with MemberStack 2.0 is a way to have secure content, whether that's on the backend side or if you have your own API. But I'm assuming you're probably thinking of like a static website, like maybe something like Squarespace or Webflow. And as far as the CSS hide, though, I think we'd need to dig into that a little bit to kind of figure out exactly what you're asking there. MemberStack works at the moment. The way that we're hiding content is through CSS and redirects, and this is all happening client side. So yeah, that might be a good question that we could kind of like have a conversation around on the wish list.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because there's a post in there for permissions, which might overlap with what you're talking about. I think there's also a secure CMS wish list item in there that could be a potential solution. But if you post the problem that you're experiencing, then we will match you with a solution in there. Will translation be a thing? Is that the next one?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're thinking about the member facing UI and not being able to translate the actual dashboard.
Good clarification. Yeah.
But yes, we do want to build translation into MemberStack, and in fact, we do have a translation feature right now. So if you do need that at the moment,
feature's a stretch.
But
it works.
So we do have a way for you to translate the front end facing UI components right now, and that's definitely something that we want to incorporate in to the new version as well. In fact, we actually want to make it easier because right now we classify it more as like a workaround for the translation, but we definitely want to bake that into the product and have it built right in.
Yeah. Okay, what else we got? And it looks like we're over the 30 minutes, so we'll keep going. We'll keep answering. I think there's not that many, so I think we could probably answer all of these in here. But if anybody does need to go, thank you so much for joining. And if you're watching after the fact, thank you for watching. It's really cool to be in a place to get to figure these things out and then implement on them and continue to refine, but also get to do it with just like really nice people who are, we can all support each other as we try to figure this stuff out.
Looks like James has been with us since the first video with Nelson.
Oh, that's cool.
It's awesome. Thanks for the support, James.
What else we got? Membership. Okay. Paul asked, hey, Paul, you've been around. Oh my goodness. Paul has been around since the beginning. Any plans for membership creation with Zapier? Definitely add that to the wish list. I'm curious to know what the use case is for that. I know we've talked about it before, and the conclusion we came to is like, what's the use case for that? But I think maybe we could suffice to say that it's like with the stuff we're doing now will put us in a better place to do that. So the kind of position we're in now is we're doing work that's in the same direction as that, and then help like make a really good case for why that's important to you and your business.
Yeah.
And we'll try to bring those together. Is that fair?
Yeah. And I think when I read that question, I'm assuming, Paul, you mean like being able to sign up members through Zapier? Potentially.
It's funny
how I read that,
because I read it as like creating a new membership, right? Like dynamically creating a membership on the fly. Like it could be a workaround for if you have like kind of custom pricing, but maybe only for a certain number of people.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, we have to clarify there.
This is the story of the last however long since we started MemberStack, of just like getting a thing and then thinking we knew what it was, and then realizing, oh, it's actually more complicated than that.
So Elliot says, I'm building a real estate website. I need to manage the listings inside MemberStack's dashboard. Is that possible? So the answer to that is no. That is not possible. This kind of overlaps a little bit with the previous question of just what are we thinking about in terms of having MemberStack be a database, or how can we enable MemberStack to be a database? But the answer to that is at the moment that is not possible.
Would plan B for that be to? And I guess at the moment it'd be more complicated, but you need like a separate database and somehow to sync it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Elliot, depending on like which like platform you're on, like whether you're on Webflow or Squarespace, I think there would still be ways to do that in a like a no code sort of way. Like maybe even through Airtable. I know Airtable, they allow you to embed charts and or not charts. That charts is the.
Know what you mean though? What it's called? Rows, items. You can.
Yeah. So that might be one possibility that you might want to look into. But it's also no code.
But yeah, to give you a really good answer, it would be useful, if you could break that down in as much detail as possible, so that we can either recommend another tool to you, or maybe even, right? Because it's funny, like it's a question like this, which is a really good question. Imagining if this was like imagine if like we were an agency and you were a client in this example, there should probably be several hour conversations breaking down all of your goals and all of the features and all of the reasoning behind why certain things are going to be the way you need them to be, like to really get it right. And that sounds kind of silly. It might sound kind of silly to say it's like, well, just build the thing, right? It's like it's dashboard, but to make it really useful day to day, it would take a lot of investigating. Hope I don't sound like a broken record. I know I'm saying the same thing a lot. I'm trying to like remind myself too. User-specific areas, plans to improve the workflow and setup for it. I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that it's like at the moment, you can dynamically set a user-specific page, but there's like some timing issues, right, with sign up. And also you can only have one user-specific page. That is also on the radar. We have some ideas for some solutions. If you could post that in the wish list, I can share some mock-ups. Not right now, but I can share some mock-ups when the time is right, and we can work together to figure out what's going to be useful to you. Thanks, Corey. Thank you, Colleen.
Natick and Molly are answering some questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So is Josh.
I think
that might have been. I think that might have been it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, we're only like 6.5 minutes over. That's actually pretty good. So for everybody who didn't get to make it and everybody who has more questions, you know where to put them. Put them in the community or ideally in the wish list. We'll probably route you there. And then you will get a reply.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Awesome.
That's everything. Thank you, everybody. Good to see everyone. And then, really important question from Josh. Where is Kate?
So Kate is my dog. I don't know if she's in my office right now. I think
we would hear her.
That's true. She is somewhere in my house.
She's a little old lady. She's got these like really long nails. Like walks around the house. Yeah. You can hear her coming from down the hall. All right. So now we've answered the most important question of all. Now I think it's time to sign off. So
well, thank you guys. This has been good.
Yep. See you all around.
Yeah.
All right. Bye. End.